So now our program is written and we're confident that it works. We need to test it out for all different variations. I've just shown on the graph here, or in the previous video, the graph of x squared, and I know that if I do x squared plus, let's say, 10, then it doesn't touch the axes at all, the x-axis at all, and gives us no roots. And if I did x squared on its own, it touches the axis but only gives me one root there, and we can check that out. You can see, I'm moving the mouse, but take a look in the top corner where it's giving the coordinates. There we go. We've got x and y both 0, so that's one root. And if I do x squared minus 1, it should cross the x-axis and give us 2 roots. There we go, and we've got a root there at minus 1 and a root at 1. So I'm going to use those 3 equations to test this out. Not only that, I'm going to do it upside down. So in other words, I am going to do minus x squared minus 1. So I get the N shape. And let's zoom in a little bit and drag it down so that you can see that it doesn't touch the x-axis at all, doesn't give us any roots. And if I just choose minus x squared, it should just give us the single root. There you go, it just touches at that point, x equals 0, y equals 0, and obviously if I do x minus x squared plus 1, then it should give me 2 roots, again at minus 1 and 1. So I've got 6 equations to check out just for this, or just for the working of this one. So if you were writing a test or a test plan for this, you would have those 6 equations, and then you would write down what was happening with each one of those equations, whether they were successful or not successful. So let's go and see what actually happens. We'll start off with the positive ones. So I'm going to run my program again. And remember, I'm just using x squared, so I've got no coefficients of x or a numeric value. I've just got 1. And the other 2 are going to be 0 and 0. So I've got no value for x, and I've got no numeric value. I've just got x squared. I'm expecting 2 roots, both at 0. And x1 is 0, x2 is 0. So that works quite nicely. Again, let's just change our program for testing, because I don't want to have to keep going back to the program and then run it again. So I'm going to put this into a loop, into a while loop, so it just runs and runs and runs. So, oops, while true. And then I'm going to indent these lines. So a good way of testing your program is to use loops. Keep running around, seeing what's happening. So I'm going to close the shell, I'm going to run it all again. F5. Run my program. So it was 1, 0, 0, and I expected 0 out, which I did. Now it's asking me what the coefficient of x squared is again. So I'm going to keep it at 1. There's never going to be a coefficient of x in any of my tests here. I'd have to have a whole string of checks for that too, a bit later on. But I am going to have 1 as my value. So really I'm doing this formula here, x squared plus 1. Let's just run that and show you what the graph is. There you go. It doesn't touch the x-axis. So when I run it, I get an error. And the error is in the square root part, because we can't find a square root of 0, basically. That's what it's meaning. But my program has crashed at that point. And what it's really telling me is that when I go for, or when I find it no roots, it's going to crash the program. So I've got to check for that and build my program so it's robust and it tells me I've got no roots. But for the time being, I'm just going to do the last couple of checks before I go and try and fix that one. So if I run the program again, so I'm going to do one now that does have roots. So x squared minus 1 should have two roots at minus 1 and 1. So let's run that one. So x squared, no x, and minus 1. There you go. I've got it at 1 and minus 1, just as I expected. I'm going to enter the coefficient of x squared, so I'm going to do the end version now, the upside down. So I'm going to do minus x squared, no x's and no numeric value, and I should get two roots, both 0. There we go. Just put minus 0 if ever there is such a thing, but it worked. And now I'm going to do the upside down one that does give me two roots. That will be minus x squared, 0. And remember, we're upside down, so really if I'm upside down I need to have a plus 1 there to get two roots. There we go, at minus 1 and 1. So my third value is going to be 1. And there we go, minus 1 and 1 for the roots. And if I did minus x squared minus 1, I know that I'm not going to get any roots at all. We can see that there, and the program should crash. So minus x, no, minus x squared, no x, and a minus 1. As predicted, we get a crash. Now that's good testing because although the program doesn't work, we can predict that it's not going to work, and then we can do something about it. So in the next video we'll take a look at why we got the red error messages and try to fix them.